Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. So I want to introduce you to Jasmine here. Jasmine's another. We both got our best shirts on today.
Look
Because
good.
we knew we're coming on to speak to you. This is actually my trademark shirt. I do take this off. I only put it on for broadcast because some people watch me all the time and think, has that guy only got one shirt? And I've got to tell you, the truth is I actually have 56 shirts.
Of the same print. They're all just lined up in your closet.
Oh, no, that's kind of that's Steve Jobs, isn't he?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs had 50 black turtlenecks, and
Yep.
Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook has 200 black Armani t-shirts or something. Apparently, no, all my shirts are different. I don't have any shirts the same.
Good. You've got other flair.
I've got some really boring ones as well.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to see that, Simon. I don't want to see you in a boring shirt.
I know. Well, I don't bring them. I don't use them. I don't use them in public for lives.
Right.
But I figure that if I always wear bright shirts, then they say that's pretty boring. So I like to mix it up because otherwise it just becomes like wallpaper.
You have to have a little bit of both in your
balance, spice, balance.
Right.
Like.
We're already talking about therapy.
Balance, yeah. Okay. So I love talking to people with such big hearts and having these conversations. So, Jasmine, tell our lovely viewers where you're from, because I'm guessing you're nowhere near here.
I am right now in Colorado.
You're in Colorado.
Our offices are in Centennial, Colorado, which is a little bit outside of Denver.
Okay.
And so we've built relations around the suburbs of Denver. And we see people throughout the state with teletherapy, and we do some coaching for people in other areas.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say Colorado, I think of the Rockies. I think of the mountains. I also think of Mork and Mindy. Do you?
I know who Mork and Mindy are, but I guess I didn't realize their location was in Denver.
They were in Boulder, I think.
Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah.
That makes more sense. So, so Mork and Mindy, I've got quite a baby face, but I'm actually 53. So I'm not surprised that a young lady such as yourself hasn't heard of Mork and Mindy.
Oh no, I've heard of them.
You've heard of them.
The bopping and all that. But,
yeah.
But Nanu. I didn't really think about their location. But Boulder is it definitely fits, because wasn't he an alien or something?
He was an alien, but this isn't making any sense to anybody under 40. So maybe we should move on to the topic in hand instead of having a good time, because we don't want to have too much.
We could do that all day. These shirts are really bringing it out in us.
So what would you like to share with mums and dads who are stressed out about their kids going back to school, or they're stressed out about their kids being stressed out? What would you like to share?
Well, there's so many pieces that go along with that. And one of the big pieces that we've been talking about for months now is the invisible load, right? So COVID has created this additional layer of stress that's just in the environment that you just don't know how to handle day in and day out, but you can't really name it. There's this piece of it that you just know you're feeling extra weight in your life. And it's things like, how do you plan a child's birthday party when you can't have 10 kids in your home anymore? There's parents that are really stressed about it. There are parents that maybe don't want to think about it anymore and have kind of moved on. But starting school is a huge piece of the invisible load for parents, because parents are already working through all these things through the summer, and now they have the added weight of education. And so in terms of working with parents around that, there are some big things that come up, and it depends on what type of school their children are in right now. Some kids are in hybrid learning. Some kids are in total in-person learning like they were before, but they're wearing masks and the school system is different. And some kids are also just doing completely at home remote learning. So the first thing is recognizing that whatever's happening in your school district and whatever's going on for your school is part of that community feel, right? And you as a parent have to decide what's best for your kids. If you want your children to be an in-home learning, there's going to be additional needs for that, right?
Yeah.
But if you're sending your children back into the school system, their experience of school is going to be different than it has been in the past. And so you're also going to have to talk to them about that. And it's just a lot of additional things to think about.
So I'm backing off a bit because you're sat slightly further away from the screen, and I'm looking like some giant. So I'm just trying to back off so we're about the same size, because otherwise it looks like I've got a big head. So most of the over here in the UK, most of the kids are just going straight back. Oh, we've lost her. Oh, she's back. She's back. Yeah. So most of the kids are going back. So they've been homeschooled in between March and when the schools broke up for the summer in July. But most everybody's going back. So if you could, we've got viewers from all over the world, but most of them are here in the UK. So anything that you like to share with that, if they're given that most of the parents are sending the kids back into the system?
Well, one of the first things is that there's a new norm for the school, right? These kids are going to have to do things in a different way than they did when they were in school in February. And just accounting for that change, giving them some time to talk about it when they come home from school, how it feels different, what the challenges are that maybe they didn't have in the past. And also, being flexible as parents about that. Some things are going to come up, and teachers are human. Mistakes are going to be made. The beginning of the year is going to have some things that are stressful for everyone involved. And just allowing your kids to understand right now, everybody's trying something new. Sometimes kids forget that, right? Because they see teachers as authorities and people who are out there who are taking care of them, and they forget, like, they've never done this before either. So helping your kids recognize they're human and they're trying, but they're keeping you safe. And that's most important to me.
Yeah. So if we focus our children on the fact that, especially their class teacher and the rest of the teachers, their interests, the teachers are going to put their interests at heart, and they're putting the safety is going to be first, so that everybody can see that we're on safety's side,
right?
And doing what we can to reassure the kids that that's the case. Yeah. So the conversation and getting them to see that for themselves, I guess, rather than just
the flexibility piece.
Yeah.
We as adults, we have a vision of what we hope for when we send our kids off to school, right? How they're going to spend their day, what they're going to learn. And I think right now we have to throw a little bit of that out the window and say that the education piece is important and it's there, but the structure of the day is really what we need to be looking towards. Is how is the structure affecting what's going on with the school too? This is something that it's trial and error. And I know a lot of teachers have been saying, for them, wearing a mask all day or trying to add in some of these additional sanitizing pieces and that sort of stuff is such a big burden mentally for them that it's created a little shorter fuse in them as well. So if maybe kids don't feel like their teachers are able to connect with them like they have in years past, that's a patience piece. In years past, your teachers might have been the very first week able to really feel like, yeah, this is a safe, cohesive classroom. And now it might take a month. It's going to take just a little extra time and being patient and flexible.
Yeah. Okay. So what about it's our flexibility as well, isn't it? I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just being flexible, parents being flexible and going with the flow, because kids will do what we do, not what we say. Yeah.
Right. And isn't that always the case? Whenever we as adults feel extra stress or any sort of major or minor trauma in our lives, right? Like if we feel like something's revving us up, we tend to act in a little bit different way than we would when we're feeling less stress and more calm. And I think our kids read that too. they can sense that we're on edge about things too, and that just doesn't feel as comfortable for them. So if we can trust, like you said, the flexibility in ourselves to just
Yeah.
say, this is different this year, you know. And
Mm.
one of the things my own kids keep saying is when is this going to be over? You know, I mean, it just keeps affecting things more and more and more, right? Like they think, oh, the school year's here, and now it's going to be back to normal. And it's like, well, no, it's not. What about Thanksgiving? You know, they're asking those types of questions. And it's one of the times in life when I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for a parent.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because they're looking for us. So it's got to be the love, security, safety net in the continued uncertainty. One of the things that pops into my head on that is I see stuff on social media and people saying, well, how are you coping? And there's this hand wringing and how are you coping? And, well, we've coped. You know, we've been coping since March, and we will continue to cope because there isn't really an alternative. And but all, at the same time, people are trying to stir things up in the media and make it out like we haven't already been doing it. We are through the worst. The media want to tell us that there's going to be a second spike for some reason to scare us. But we've been through the worst. We are on the way out, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we don't know how long the tunnel is.
Right. And I think that that's a really good way to think about all major things in our lives, right? Is that we really don't know what's going to come next. And we have to just trust that we're going to find a way to get through it because we have the skills and the tools to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time with families is that, you know, you don't know what's going to come and you don't know how this is going to play out. But the reality is that you've built a good pyramid around safety and security and, you know, being flexible, and that's all we can do in life.
Yeah.
You know, this is just exaggerating you know, and what we already know about ourselves.
Indeed. And we've always been, parents have always been making it up as they go along anyway. You know, this is just another a few more curveballs being thrown at us, but we've coped and we'll continue to cope. And that sort of leads into, you know, but everybody's saying, you know, how are you coping in these times of uncertainty as well? And well, life has always been uncertain. But if you say something like that, then that's not a great headline. You know,
right.
Everybody's trying to dramatize it more.
Well, and that's kind of the way of social media and just media in general, right? Is they have to have a story. They have to have something that they're selling, and emotion sells, right?
Yeah.
Having strong emotion, fear-based emotion sells. And whether or not people are feeling it to that degree, I think if you talk to the vast majority of people, most people are in a healthy range of fear, right? Like they want to take care of themselves. They want to make sure they're protecting their families. They're being cautious, but they're not going overboard to either extreme. But media goes to those extremes because that's what people want to hear about, or the people that refuse to wear masks and they get on planes and they get kicked off, or the people who haven't left their home since March and won't go until there's a cure and I guess a vaccine. So I do think that we often highlight both extremes, and particularly parents when they're seeing their children watching this news or getting that information, they have to be able to address with them the fear factor. And I think that this idea of the wringing your hands and how are you coping piece to some degree is a nice way for people to connect, right? Like, how is your life changing? How can I help you through this? How does this feel strange for you? But to put it into that second category of like, can we get through this? You know, where are we going from here? That's just sensationalism at its best.
Yeah. I think for me, I was looking at on the Yeah, I'm looking at something in the paper on this. I can just hear some clicking. I don't know where it's from.
I hear that too.
I was looking at something in the paper this weekend, and there was just like a massive words all about this and about back to school. I thought, how can anybody take that in? You know, it's just they need to pump all this information at us, and we need to be aware of how what we are taking in is coming out of how that's affecting us, and maybe we should be talking to our kids about how the media is impacting them as well.
Right. And, you know, it's always a good bet to kind of take some of the media away from your children, right? I mean,
we've lost Jasmine. Sorry about that, Kate. Just some technical issues. And
this across the pond stuff just isn't working very well, huh?
Yeah. We're up in the pond and then some. Yeah, so we've got 3,000 miles to the east coast of New York, and then probably another 2,500 miles. How far from Colorado is it to the coast?
Oh, geez, you're asking the wrong gal. I'm a
Okay.
feelings lady. You know, I'd say 2,000 miles, but I'd probably be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it's that far. So there's if we go west from you, there's California, is there?
Yep, California's closer coast.
Yeah. So that's quite a thin place.
Well, now you can't see me, but
now I can't see it. So Jasmine, we've been talking about light at the end of the tunnel. We've got Jasmine actually in a black tunnel with a black shirt and a black makeup on, and a lot of clicking going on as well. So I think, is there anything that you just want to share, Jasmine, in terms of any last thoughts on this, and then we'll sign off and we'll leave the technical journalism for another
yes,
time.
we'll have to reconvene another time when we have a better connection. But you know, at the end of the day, we are going to get through this. Families are going to be successful through it, and we'll come out and be able to talk about it when it's done, right? So for now, be in the moment, enjoy what you can, recognize there's going to be difficulties, and allow yourself to have space for that in your life. Cut
yourself some slack. That's great. Thanks a lot, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Big love to you. Big love to you and everybody in Colorado. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.